before I get into it, I just want to say that if you're a Dungeon Meshi fan who is trying Arknights for the first time, almost none of what I'm about to say really matters for you, and you'll be able to clear dozens of hours of content with the Dungeon Meshi crew when paired up with the free-to-play operators that you will get along the way. And I really hope we aren't waiting too long for Season 2, which is confirmed by the way, and I really hope that we get another collab once that airs. Now, let me address the Arknights fans who haven't watched Dungeon Meshi yet. Do it. It's good. Seriously, if Free Rent didn't air around the same time as this show, I would have gotten to it much sooner, but I'm glad that this collab happened as it made me finally get to this show. I don't really watch anime as much as I used to, but I am getting back into it this season, which seems to be about aura farming, especially with the most recent ReZero episode going crazy with the animation, and Jinwoo Sung just existing. However, Dungeon Meshi mixes whimsy with compelling characters and manages to have funny, dramatic, and intense moments with its cast all in a lovely fantasy setting. Alright, with that out of the way, let's talk about how Marcille ain't doing it for meta players. I'm going to use a Japanese promotional material for Marcille because if I use this global piece that Intern-kun made, I think some of you would genuinely have an aneurysm. Also, look at how it's set up like a menu. Isn't this just so cute? Marcille is a 6-star AoE caster, so we're already off to a horrible start considering this means that base Aofiala no diffs her, but this is especially bad in a post-Logos world. Now, Marcille is at least unique when compared to the other casters because of her mana mechanic. Unlike SP, mana only recovers when Marcille is not deployed, and you'll see a green border on her portrait as she is gaining mana. She recovers 1 MP per second when she is off field, and when she is deployed, so long as she has mana, even just a single point, she will get a 20% attack buff and have greater range on her AoE attacks. Her second talent gives her more mana to work with, and if you have the whole gang in the party, then she gives the whole Collab crew plus 25 attack speed and a 35% defense buff. I don't remember that being a thing in the anime, but free stats are free stats. Now, something different about Marcille's skills is that to use any of them, she must charge up, or rather, chant to use them. It's basically like how every old school spell had some witch say some rhyme before cursing the main character. That's what Marcille has to do, just like in the show. The issue with this in-game is that if Marcille is ever interrupted by, say, a stun for example, then she will have to restart the chant from the beginning. With this in mind, this makes Marcille a much more cumbersome operator to use because not only do you have to mind her mana before deploying her, but you also need to make sure that when you use her skill, nothing can stop her from chanting. Otherwise, you might as well use a 2-star operator at that point since you're not going to get to use any of her skills. Now, is there a payoff to using Marcille if you can jump through all of these hoops? There actually is. A lot of people like to dunk on skill 3 because it requires something that we don't need anymore in this game. Thought. This skill first has Marcille chant for 5 seconds, and then you have a choice. You can stop the skill right there and she will consume 8 mana to let loose a massive explosion which deals almost 400% of her attack as arts damage and stuns for 4 seconds. Or you can let Marcille chant for another 10 seconds, making it a 15-second total chant, after which she will drop as many explosions as her mana allows for. So, with max mana, you will have 10 explosions. Eat your heart out, Megumin. Now, that 390% buff sounds especially good considering that the max attack Marcille can have is over 1100, but the issue with Helidrop Marcille is that she is so outclassed in this niche, and while it is the big fancy skill you get after E2, it's just genuinely not worth using. The most disappointing aspect of skill 3 is that the stun Marcille gets when she casts 10 explosions doesn't stack. You aren't going to stun an enemy for 40 seconds when you use this skill, but rather the stun will reset with each new explosion, so you're getting like 6 seconds of stun at best, which isn't bad, but again, other characters can do much better than this. The other glaring issue with Marcille is the fact that her cycle is abysmal compared to other operators. First off, you need to wait 80 seconds for her to get all of her mana back after you retreat her, have her chant for 5 seconds, and then for another 10 seconds. Pray that nothing stops her in those 15 seconds, of which she is not contributing at all to the battle, and then you finally get to do like 40k damage to a boss, which for 95 seconds of wait time is bad. On top of all of this, this skill is somehow messed up as Marcille's stun has a wider blast radius than the actual explosion. Yeah, she may stun more things this way, but if they're outside the damaging part of this skill, then they'll take 0 damage. And what makes this even worse somehow, as I just realized that if you use this skill while the rest of the Laios party is deployed, then it just gets worse, because the attack speed buff will make her nuke faster, causing the duration of the stun to be shorter. Sure, the difference is like, I don't know, probably less than half a second, but it's still really, really sad that that's an objectively true statement. Now, is there a silver lining to all of this? Thankfully for our girl Fail Mage Queen, there is. Marcille's best skill is definitely her second skill, which does so many better things for her than her third skill. First off, mana fall off is not an issue for her, as when she chants for 11 seconds, she will only consume 35 mana to summon her familiar. The familiar will give her a 100% attack boost, and now Marcille will also inflict slow onto her enemies for 0.5 seconds. Just like the third skill, there is an added mechanic, but this is straightforward as you can just use the skill again, and after another 11 seconds of chanting, she will summon the Sky Fish and gain more range, 60 attack speed, which is actually crazy when you think about it, and she'll gain a half-second stun, which will stack with the slow. Not sure how that is used there, but it is. It's a great AFK skill that makes her an absolutely solid operator. So that's Marcille in a nutshell. What does this have to do with the title of the video? Well, I remember back when we got our first collab operator in Ashe. When I told my friend that she was going to be the premium unit for the RS6 collab, he went, of course, and then proceeded to rant about her being busted for like 5 minutes. While Ashe was no top tier meta unit at the time, she was seen as a solid flex pick in case you were tired of relying on guides to set up Exia's S3, since you were not going to figure out the timing for her without using a guide. So considering that Ashe had a manual version of said skill, which even had a slight stun, she was an absolutely great operator to use back when she came out. While the rerun of this event had everyone dunking on Ashe at every possibility, I cannot stress enough that Ashe was actually good at one point. The game in general has been cruel to the marksman archetype, so that's why she's seen as so bad now. Great for maintaining the base though. As for the Kirin armor user in the thumbnail, Yato is literally one of the best characters in the game, even after all this time. I've talked about her several times over, and I don't need to say anything else besides that she's cracked, and I need to beg Capcom to fix the PC port of Wilds, please, for the love of God. I want to go on hunts, but I don't want to pay for, what is it, PSO, PlayStation Online, whatever the online is. PlayStation's online is an absolute scam, I'm never paying for that. But I just want it to work on PC, please. I have a 4070, my PC can handle it. Just let it run the game, please. Anyways, where was I? Oh, right, Ella. So next is Ella, who isn't bad, but honestly didn't really do anything new for the archetype as a trap master. She's more of a support master than anything, as her mines provide useful debuffs, and her skills offer good crowd control, but her value really only comes out after you've played the game for a while, as you will need to invest heavily into her in order to get good value from her. Otherwise, she'll just feel underwhelming compared to other operators. Marcille confirms the trend that Ella initiated, which is that collab operators are no longer going to be your massive nukes of destruction that solve all of your problems, but rather they're going to be much more balanced, and I think that this is because we are no longer in the early years of the game. Arknights has been around for over 5 years at this point, so they can't make simple skills and expect people to be happy with them. They now have a lot more experience and know how to properly integrate aspects from their source material into the mechanics. I just think that the hate for Marcille is a bit overblown because she's really just a solid AFK operator, honestly one of the best that we have now, but she is by no means mandatory as we have so many other operators in the game who fill that AFK niche just as well, even if not better or even worse than Marcille. Now, am I still going to be pulling for her? Oh, you bet your sweet ass you are. I'm getting her and everyone else in that crew. Benchy, get to cooking, boy. We have to cook. You know, I really thought I had an outro for this, but no, we're just ending it on that voice crack. Yeah, but I had pneumonia last month, and I think my voice still hasn't fully recovered from it, as trying to record this actually put some strain on my throat, so that sucks. We'll see how this goes in the future. In the meantime, peace.